Good morning, everybody, and a happy Wednesday morning to everybody. I hope your week is going well. We have a lot to cover as usual, so let's jump in there and get there, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off with King Charles, who it's been reported is coping very well after his first week of cancer treatment. He went to church on Sunday. He was seen walking along with Camilla, and he looked genuinely happy and at ease. At least that's what they're saying in the pictures, but I have to agree. He looked genuinely healthy to me. Now, apparently chemo has started. It's obvious from the pictures that he's not being allowed near anybody per se, but we know that chemo kills off your immune system and leaves it susceptible. So we don't want King Charles to get any sicker than he already is. Therefore, he's only around certain people for a certain length of time. Of course, that does not include Queen Camilla, his strength and stay, who is taking care of him at home. We all know how that goes. And as usual, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us everything that Camilla was wearing. I'm loving this wide-brimmed hat. As a matter of fact, I'm liking her style more and more. Moving on. Next up, we have Lady Frederick Windsor, also known as Sophie Winkleman. I showed you her when she went out to sell the big issue. She went to the Chinese Lunar New Year celebrations with Ching He Hong, I hope I'm saying that right, hosted by Fortnum and Mason. All profits that were raised that evening are going to a group called Centrepoint. This took place in London on February 9th. She's looking good. Next up, taking place at the Dixie Queen on February 10th in London, we have Zanuska Mowat. I hope I'm saying that correctly. She is the granddaughter of Princess Alexandra, and she attended the Stanley Zoo's Year of the Dragon. Now, I've spoken to you guys about Princess Beatrice, not long ago. I showed you she was wearing this old gray outfit. I thought she looked very frumpy in it. Articles have come out, the vest is only $36 and Catherine wore it. Well, I have to tell you, I don't care if Catherine wore it. I don't particularly like this outfit on Catherine, and I sure didn't like it on Beatrice. I think it looks frumpy. I don't like it. I don't care if the vest is $36. Still doesn't mean you should wear it. Moving on. Next up, let's talk about Princess Anne. She was seen in Edinburgh wearing blue because she was showing her support for Scotland. Let's not forget that she's the patron. She went to watch the game between Scotland and France. And let me remind you, she is patron of the Scottish Rugby Union, and she was there to support the team. And the match was against the Guinness Six Nations. And it took place on the Murrayfield Stadium in Edinburgh. Oh, and FYI, she's been the patron since 1986. Anyway, now, even though it's being reported that Scotland dominated for most of the match, France won 16-20. And at that point, it became Princess Anne's job to present the Old Alliance trophy to Charles Olivin from the French team. Good for Anne, and congratulations to the French for winning. Moving on. Let's move on now. We know that 2 years ago, it was Harry that went with Eugenie to the Super Bowl. They were in the official box of Salesforce Ventures, one of the official partners of Better Up. You guys all remember that. So no, they didn't pay for the seats, and they went for free. And there was a lot of speculation why Eugenie was there with Harry and not Meghan. Well, we all heard the whole will they, won't they? Yes, they're going to the Super Bowl. No, they're not going to the Super Bowl. And of course, we know they didn't show up. And the rumor out now is the reason they didn't show up is because they didn't want to be outshadowed by Taylor Swift and her popularity because she was going to be there. Obviously, the story coming out is that they were given an invitation, but they politely declined. I don't think they were giving an invitation. I don't think anybody wanted to give them a free place to sit. Interesting, Jay-Z and Beyonce were seen there. Lots of people were seen there, but no Harry and Meghan. Now, the story came out, the real reason they didn't show up is because they're busy preparing for their trip to Canada. You mean Meghan's busy getting her gazillion outfits ready? I mean, let's look at what's really going on here. At the coronation, she wasn't given a carriage. There was no starring role, no balcony appearance, no happy birthday for Archie. So Meghan stayed home. That is her pattern. She wants top billing. But she didn't get an invitation to the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. Nothing to the Super Bowl. Nothing to the Emmys. Nothing to the Grammys. Nothing to the Golden Globes. Not to Fashion Week. She's invited to nothing. So they're unpopular, and they only have themselves to blame. I completely agree with this article. They have embarked on a nasty vendetta against the royal family. They haven't let up, and their constant victimhood narrative is growing thin. The truth of the matter is, the two of them are struggling. The world is watching, and nobody feels sympathy for them anymore. How can you sympathize with a late 30s man and an early 40s woman who live such a life of privilege but do nothing but whine, moan, and complain? And the constant examples of Meghan and how she's like Diana and using Diana's victimhood has worn so thin on people. Everybody is saying that Harry was so nice until he met Meghan Markle. You know, I love Candace Owens, and she said that Meghan Markle was acting like she could speak to Diana from the grave and how disgusting it was. Candace Owens said, and I'm quoting, "It's sickening and manipulative, and her reason for doing that was she thought that it would reserve her as untouchable, as if any person with half a brain would believe that Diana would have wanted what's going on between her two sons." Candace said that Americans are waking up to Meghan Markle, and they are not liking her. It's coming out now that Harry and Meghan are not welcome in the UK. Tom Bower has said that they are poisonous. I agree with that. Mr. Bower said you can't trust the Sussexes. Everything they do is in their interest. They have been poisonous in their treatment and their comments about Britain and the royal family. And he said, and I'm quoting, "I do hope that Harry was kicked out after 30 minutes, not invited to stay at any of the main palace bedrooms, and maybe now he's got the message that he's not welcome in Britain." Now, with all of that said, it looks like Harry is going to be returning again in May. Now, this is where things get interesting, and the Mirror put out misinformation. They said that Harry would be returning for the birthday of the Invictus Games, which he founded in 2014, and that celebrations are going to take place at St. Paul's Cathedral. Except Harry didn't set up the Invictus Games. The Invictus Games was set up by Harry, William, Charles, in cooperation with the Royal Foundation. Everybody was involved. And then, after a few years, they stepped back and let Harry have the reins. But Harry didn't set this up. But Harry will have absolutely no problem taking full credit as usual. Now, Mark Dolan had something to say about all of this, and I've edited it down dramatically, so it just hits the high points. Listen to this.
Fair play to Prince Harry for dropping everything and flying over to see his poor old dad, King Charles, who has revealed a shock cancer diagnosis. But the meeting between Charles and Harry reportedly lasted little more than half an hour. That's about as long as an episode of Coronation Street. Now, if your old man had received this worrying health news, would you find 30 minutes long enough to express your love? I'd be bedded in for days, making cups of tea, fetching warm blankets, and reminding him ad nauseam what he means to me. And let me tell you, whilst he's been through a lot earlier in his life, and my heart goes out to him for that, these days, Harry is no victim. It's his own family, his late grandmother, the Queen, Charles, Camilla, Catherine, and most worryingly his brother William, who have been the real victims of the Sussexes' smear campaign. And with Harry having led the attacks with money-spinning books, podcasts and TV shows, it was his job this week to build bridges with his family. Harry's blink-and-you'll-miss-it meeting with his father was matched only by his blink-and-you'll-miss-it visit to the country. 26 hours in total he spent in the UK. As strong a message, if you needed it, that he can't stand the place. The contrast now between Harry and his brother William, who polling suggests is the most popular royal ahead of even his father, couldn't be more stark. At a charity event with Tom Cruise this week, it was William who looked like the big star, with Cruise, one of the most famous entertainers in the world, looking upon our future king with total admiration. Meanwhile, Prince Harry doesn't seem to have a job at all. And what was his rush to leave the country rather than perhaps enjoy a second visit with his old man? Well, he had to attend the NFL Honors Awards in Las Vegas, where he cracked a few jokes. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, unless you're Prince Harry, in which case we find out bloody everything. Harry's money-spinning World Privateers Tour and his 3-year-long Moan Fest may have been highly profitable, but in losing his own brother and precious time with his poorly father, the price he's paying is far higher.
Exactly. Now, I want to point something else out. It's something that, according to Taz, put up about the lawsuit. Everybody's going on about how Harry won, all this money. The truth is he won £300,000 in total damages, but he asked for $2 million. So after winning £140,000 and now the $300,000, he's still out of pocket because remember, he dropped his other case and he owes £750,000 to them in legal fees. And keep in mind that William's case was over 20 years old and he got journalists criminally charged. He shut down the news of the world. And he did it all without slandering anybody or showing his mother as an adulterer. And I'd like to add personally, without letting his wife know that there's somebody else he would have married. All right, you guys, you know what to do. And leave those comments, make them good. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell. If you've already done that, double check, make sure you're still subscribed. Don't forget, you'll find the links in the description box for my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my Patreon, and a link to my father's book. If you've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.